off. Is it changed from MotoGP to MarquezGP? Um,
Pretty much.
Alex, Alex, new rider, isn't he? It's just the
Stunning.
Marquez brothers are up ahead, aren't they?
Yeah. And is that because they train all summer long or all off season? Or I mean, what's got into Alex?
I don't know. I wish we had seen him on a 2024 Ducati last season instead of Frankie Morbidelli, you know, because it's just the bike that he absolutely loves. And, it was actually a good challenge to Mark this time. I said last time I didn't think he would be able to win a championship as long as Mark is around, but obviously Alex has upped his game and he's riding very, very well.
Mhm. I did notice a big difference when they're
Hmm.
together. That Mark just looked a lot smoother,
Yeah.
going the
Yeah.
same speed, but Mark looked a lot smoother.
He did look a little bit less smooth than he did last race, though, didn't he? A few moments they had to save.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, Alex is only second to Mark in terms of the Ducati riders this season so far. Only two races, but ahead of Pecco and all the others. So, really good ride from Alex. And the other thing that really impressed me was Honda's huge step, Zarco getting on the front row and qualifying.
Hmm.
It's astounding. Like from last season, we don't see these kind of steps usually in motorsports, do we? Where they're absolutely zero, and now they're on the front row the next season.
We do all the time, but only when there's a formula change.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And he
Oh,
was
you're
fourth
right.
in the sprint and seventh in the race. 5 seconds back in the sprint, 7.4 seconds back from the lead in the race. And we saw Mir battle Ogura and Acosta during the main race as well. So the big step up from Honda, and hopefully they could keep improving. Um, the other thing is Iogura, the extremely boring sprint. He didn't do very well at all,
No.
but then he went from 15th to 8th before his disqualification for erroneous software or unhomologated software. But this is again another rider that learns from experience. He had 2 days of testing at the Thai circuit before the race, so he was very good there. And then one race or one sprint race in, and he moves from 15th to 8th. So good on I. Did you think the sprint was as boring as I did?
I thought both races were.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I thought the sprint was really boring, and they didn't cover anything beyond the front.
No.
I thought the race they started covering a little bit from 6th to 10th, the sort of Binder, Fabio, Di Giantonio, Acosta, and Mir battle here and there, but they could have covered it a little bit more
And way
um,
better. And
and
way
better.
better.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So they again the direction is suffering. Um, Morbidelli finally making the podium. He's been injured. Well, he got injured a few seasons back and hasn't been the same rider since. He was close to the championship in 2020. First time on the podium for 4 years. We'll see how he does in the future. I mean, last season he basically they said he had brain damage before the season when he crashed on the Ducati non-MotoGP bike, the super bike. But he didn't do too well at all last season in the 2024. So podium's pretty much minimum you'd think from a Ducati these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're they're so far ahead. Yeah.
I question what happened to Pecco and
How's that?
what his where his head must be.
Mhm.
Um, because I know that's got to be a little bit demoralizing.
Nah, you would think so. He basically said he's just not comfortable with the new bike, and he's even said he might go back to the 2024 for the Circuit of America race. Not that there's much difference between the two, but he's clearly not comfortable, and being uncomfortable on the bike, he just doesn't adjust too well. I mean, he got a fourth in the race and a third in the sprint, but Mark was saying he didn't feel too good on the bike. And by the end of the race, he figured out the back end and passed Alex and won the race again. So,
And it didn't
uh,
look like it was that hard for him to pass Alex either.
no,
It looked
no.
like it was like he was just biding time and he could have done it whenever he wanted to.
It's sort of like last season in Australia when he was behind Martin all that time. And I thought he was pushing just to stay behind him, but apparently not. He was just waiting for the last 3 or 4 laps to pounce and take the lead. So I think that's what he was doing once he lost the lead here. Um, Mark equals Angel Nieto's 90 Grand Prix wins. He's got 67 in the MotoGP class. Nieto never had any wins in the top class. He was all the other classes.
Mhm.
But it's funny that Angel Nieto's son is the team boss of VR46 Racing. So he had a few words with Mark after the race with the getting to that record.
Yeah.
Um, and I would say that you're saying last time that Mark's changed his style.
Mhm.
He's a little bit more rough this race, but he
Not
seems
much.
to be a combination of Villeneuve when he needs to be and Jim Clark when he needs to be, doesn't he? And that's a that's a dangerous combination to have. And
Yeah.
I think he's going to win. Well, I think he's going to win the championship. I don't, I don't think that's a bad prediction uh, to make at this point. And probably, I'm going to say 12 to 14 of the races. What are your thoughts on that?
I'd like to see him do a perfect season and win all of them. I think he can do it. No, I'm serious. I think
There's
he can
something
do it.
to
I mean,
witness.
and unless he something happens to him, but he clearly has the ability to do it. And there's it's very, very smart in racecraft. There's when you're out front by yourself, it's really tough. It's
Yeah,
really tough because where's the breaking point? Where do I turn into the apex? Where do I exit? Yeah, it becomes a rhythm and it sort of comes second nature. But to have that guide in front of you by following
yeah,
somebody, and that's what I think he was doing with Alex, because clearly Alex had the speed. He knew he had the speed. So he could just entirely relax behind his brother,
right,
knowing that he
right.
could do him at any time. And yeah, I think there's more racecraft than I've seen yet with him. And that it's
Okay.
not just I'm doing Villeneuve and I'm just gonna go crazy every lap and get the fastest lap I can every lap.
Yeah,
Uh, it's not
yeah.
that anymore. Now he's being smart. So
Especially if he doesn't have to, right?
right.
So, like, I read a quote about, was did Mark have certain circuits he was good at, or was the bike more suitable to those type of circuits? Because he was always ahead of the other Honda riders. And so the Ducati seems to be good on every circuit. And we'll see how Mark does on every circuit. So,
And they'll improve the bike through the season, right? I mean,
yeah.
they'll dial it in. And
Mhm.
so
And you
and
have to consider that he's new to this team as well.
mhm.
So his engineer and so forth. So they have to get to know him. So when you were racing, like how often did you lead when you won a race, or did you have different strategies, or was it a different kind of racing?
Different kind of racing because there were different classes on the track at the same
Mm,
time. And
right,
and and
right,
I, and I was never the top class. So there was always somebody ahead of me.
right.
And always somebody behind me. I was never last, thank God. Um, and the tough part for me was I was battling with cars that I shouldn't have been battling with. I was driving up in one class up, and in
Right.
some cases, almost sometimes 2 classes up. In the rain, 4 classes up,
Right.
and yeah, so it's no, nothing like this. So the racecraft is basically watching the car in front of you and figuring out where um, you're quicker than they are, or where you can compromise them, or where they're going to try and be defensive and you can just drive around them, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Right. Right. Right.
yeah.
Right. Okay. Um, Anything else about this event other than I'm going to give it a rating and a rider? And for the rating, I'm going to give it a 4. Again, poor coverage. Rider, I'm going to give it to Zarco.
Is that out of 20?
Out of 10.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm going to give it to Zarco because he stayed pretty close to Pecco pretty much the entire race, and that's impressive for a Honda. What about yourself?
And finished well ahead of his teammate.
Yes.
Um, I'm going to rate it a 2,
Hmm.
um, because I battled to stay awake.
Yep.
Literally battled to stay awake. And I'm going to give the ride to Alex.
Yeah.
He got thrown out front where he knew he wasn't going to stay. Probably knew he wasn't going to stay, and if he thought he was going to stay, then he got destroyed up here when his brother blew by him. Um, and it's tough to stay focused when you're out front like that and you don't have any sort of guide. You don't have any.
Mhm.
It also gives you depth perception too. Like there's more depth perception when there's a bike in front of you,
Right.
and it's just less stressful. I know it sounds odd,
Mhm.
but it is. So yeah, it's Alex in both events
All right.
and in qualifying.
Right. Yeah, he's done a spectacular job this season and just like a completely different rider. So
Hmm.
nice to see.
Hmm.
So next up, we have COTA, where Marcus he won from 2013 plus 6. So the first 6 times there from 2013 to 2018. So I expect him to win again. Uh, Before we go, I'd have to say the KTM's looked like a disaster again too, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah.
So uh, crazy. Anyways, talk to you soon.
And Honda smoked it.
Yeah, yeah.
Good for
Great,
them. Yeah.
great. Talk to you then.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Bob.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.